Alrighty folks, welcome back to another episode of my Jerusalem playthrough. In the previous episode we took a huge chunk of the Commonwealth and we're way over 100% overextended, but the first thing we're going to do is hand off as many as we can to Kivanian Rus. That's what we're going to do, which is always really fun, right? Now I will, obviously focus on the Russian culture provinces as a probably priority. I think with the exception of this and this, which is already owned by Hungary, it is area based. So we'll be giving these areas over first. But this episode, we're going to go ahead and declare war on the one tributary of Japan, and therefore get ourselves into a war with Japan. Take as much as we can, hopefully. Geez, Kiev is already at 71 overextension. Hopefully, fully annex Japan. I'm just concerned about the war score cost with him. So it looks to me like we are going to be overextended, but, you know, we can handle a little bit of over 100. It's not that big of a deal. Brest should be right down the bottom. 97, that's the best we're going to get. Alright, doing really well on our admin points though. Somebody randomly asked why don't I take up my Diplo? Why do I spend my points developing and stuff like that? And it should be somewhat obvious. It's just because this Diplo tech really doesn't do anything for us. We don't really have much to look forward to that I know of in our current game. You know, sometimes an extra culture slot or something like that can be significant, but there's really nothing for us to look forward to with Diplotech at this stage. And I can develop some of our provinces, the ones that I was actually developing with a significant amount economically, which allows us, which allows us to absolutely spam some more units if we want. It raises our force limit, etc., increasing your income. So, yep, we're over 100. I'm wondering, this is 9. Oh, we're for sure over 100. Kiev, however, oh wow, he's barely coring anything up. So we just straight up went over 100%. That's all good. We do have the option to give Hungary some more land. Hungary's pretty ugly anyways. Maybe I should do it just for the sake of it. It would actually benefit me. I think I will. Let's go ahead and give Hungary these areas here of Lithuania. Let's have a look here. Yeah. Everybody loves some good old border gore, right? No, but if it's going to put us under 100%, guys, it's definitely worth it. Regardless of how ugly it looks. What's this called? Kovno. And Sam. Alright. How are we looking now? Perfect. 99.3. It's almost like it was planned, right, guys? Feels good, man. Alright. I should, I guess, have already declared this war over here, and we're gonna have to make sure that we have some navy as well so that we can cross this straight up here. But let's go! Back to war we go! We're now at war with Japan again. Except Japan did not honor the call, so we're not at war with Japan. That's awkward. That's really awkward. That's part of the reason I would like to see a sort of... Oh, I put a navy right here, I didn't realize. I'm gonna have to transport them now, aren't I? I'd like to see a message that whether Japan is or is not going to honor the call via the war sort of diplomatic screen, for that reason, as well as other reasons, obviously. But yeah, there's no way to tell. It says they're a tributary and they will honor the alliance. Well, they didn't, did they? So you lied to me, game. This is something we can take, and with that in mind, I've got nothing to do apart from attack Ming tributaries. Oh, and Delhi. We're quite poised and ready to attack Delhi, and we could weaken Bengal and so on if I did that. Let's do that as well. No idea how much these are worth in terms of overextension, but let's do it. I want to super peace these nations, needless to say. Gotta sort out my composition here a bit, but whatever. That's our life in general. Oh, we got some Orthodox land here. This is definitely gonna revolt. We have to keep some troops around, I would suggest. Let's go to grasslands. We probably are not suffering attrition there. Yeah, so this should be a war large enough to take 100% combined with this little northern Japanese nation. Should be just fine. While we wait for this to core up. Now, who you? What kind of rebels? Who's successing? Who's progressifying on my watch? We did begin integrating Scandinavia. There we go. Those are the rebels who are progressing at the end of last episode. So we are spending our diplo points fairly well here, if we're not overextended. If we are overextended, it's a little bit more slow. No, my lights in Bengal. No. Pull out. Okay, are you landed yet? Taking his sweet, sweet time. There we go. The capital city will fall real quick. So when my emissary returns, I will go ahead and check how much we can take here. What a good peace deal looks like. Taking anything in Bengal is going to be worth a lot, as there is tons of money in Bengal right now. Nice. So that's only 48. That's right. Doab is a trading company region. Let's focus our merchants here, because with Delhi, after this war, if not now, after this war, we can get trade company up and running to you know, its maximum potential capacity. My military points are fairly low, guys, but I have to remember that we're really far ahead, so I can artillery a barrage if I wish. I can also go over my general limit, and I can also take that policy, but we need to spend 2k admin points, so it might be a little while, because as things stand here, I'm thinking about a tributary. I'm thinking about a tributary to help us core, not a tributary, excuse me, another client state to help us core up the last. Kiev can help us core up some of the north here. We could give that to him for the themes. Make them look nice. We could do like a East Asian tributary. Nippon is not a trading company region, but Beijing is. I could release Japan. Drop names in the comments, guys. We could sort of give Japan some of Manchuria and give him all of Korea. If we released what we have here, we could give him a significant amount of Japan when we take them. I might do an East Asian trading company based out of Japan. Not trading company, excuse me. A client state based out of Japan, guys. Just to help us with our admin here going into the late hours of this game. What should we call the Christian Japan, boys? Because I know I will fail at my task of naming it myself. Okay, they can't get access over there. Perhaps... Oh, tributary trading port. Ooh. That's interesting. I'm not 100% sure what that is. 1782, so it's not going to last that much longer. Tributary trading port. How does that work exactly? Oh, okay. Give that to Austria here once we're at peace as well. You know what? I should probably just go ahead and give him Venetia as well. But I mean, nah. We're collecting in Venice. But he's got the whole rest of the area there. So this we could give to the client state. We could give this to the client state if I wait. I don't want to peace out right now because we can't make a client state while we're at war. I can't actually client. You can't client this, can you? This is really strange. Something I've always wondered. What we can do is just release Japan. I remember doing that. I think it was my Roman Empire game. I converted them essentially and then released them as a client for exactly that reason. It's fascinating to me. Japan has exploration, but he doesn't have colonies? Because I think there's nothing left to colonize. He took it too late. I think that's what we'll do. We'll just release Japan after fully annexing him. That way we don't have to core up his land. But yeah, for some reason you can only release client states if they're connected by land. So I could release a client state like here. But you can't with Japan. It just seems, it's just like, why? Why is my question. Just don't understand why. And it always seems really awkward. It's really, really limiting. As far as I know, you don't at some stage get, it's like, oh, you can release client states overseas now from tech or anything, right? Not that I know of. It's very peculiar. And it's something that I also forget about. So with that in mind, we're going to have to core this up. I don't think there's any way around it. Okay, let's go ahead and start this trading company in our Catholic provinces. I think that's it. Good stuff. GB's down to 76%. We're definitely getting there. That feels nice. Damn, dude. Prestige is at 100 and climbing. Definitely having 100 prestige, that helps us in the inevitable upcoming war against Ming. I know that Ming also has a significant amount of prestige, so we need whatever we can get to kill him. Now that's only 9.9 overextension. Cool. We can do it right now. No need to wait any longer. Yeah, so I'll call this up, but I'll probably end up just giving it to Japan eventually. When we release Japan. Yeah, so obviously our truce is going to come up. Eventually it will take ages, but he's 82%. So regardless of the cost to fully annex him in terms of overextension, we're just going to take him out, release him as a subject, in my opinion, and then probably grant him a lot of provinces as well to help us core provinces out here in Asia. Share it, share the load. Now, I suspect probably once we piece out Delhi, I suspect to get another merchant. How's our train going? This goes to Zanzibar, so hopefully, yeah, we'll see what we can do, but I'll try to take some more power here in Bengal. Be really nice to get some power here, but what does it matter? What does it matter? What am I even caring? What am I worried about at this stage of the game? It's no big deal. We've got the cash money. It seriously is inconsequential. In order to take the land, though, I need to occupy it, because we're going to be piecing out Delhi for it. So let's make sure to go ahead and do that. Do you guys want to hear a real random quickie, a quick story? Not amazing, not significant, but for any of you, I don't know if you guys exist, honestly. I seriously don't. But for any of the real old schoolers, the oldest of the old schoolers of the people who have been following Monk, they will know that pretty much the first thing that I ever did in terms of media was I streamed with my terrible crappy internet a game called Dark Souls. And I love that game. But with that being said, the game has to be played with a bloody controller, essentially. The original Dark Souls, the port was really bad, and it's designed to be like a console game. But I had this, I don't know if I bought it for that. No, I actually did. No, I think about it, I actually did. I remember I was disappointed when I found out Dark Souls needed a controller, because I'm kind of a PC Master Race kind of guy. And I was like, I guess I'll buy a controller, because I already bought Dark Souls and I didn't realize it has such good reviews and so on. I bought it after it had come out, not like at launch. And yeah, I ended up getting a controller, but stupidly, that controller, it was an Xbox controller, and it was wireless. It was a wireless controller, and I remember regretting it. Now, like I just said, I'm not a console guy, so you know, I'm not sure what the deal is with the wireless, and you know, keep in mind that I'm buying one. When I look at one, I'm not like, oh, this is the new expensive control. No, I'm just like, okay, there's a controller. Grab that. Cheaper, better, right? As long as does the job. So I'm just saying that because I don't know how things work in terms of other people experiencing this, really. I don't, believe it or not, a lot of my mates, if you will, in real life aren't even like gamers, really, some of them. But regardless, it was a wireless controller, and the stupid thing essentially needed batteries. And I was like, God dang it, batteries. So I just was not keen on like buying batteries, and I'd forget when I need them and stuff. So long story short, it was so long ago that I basically tried to keep track of my controller, because I was like, one day I'll stream or whatever, one day I might play Dark Souls or whatever again, or a new modern version. Cool, feels good, man. And I completely lost track of, you know, because it's like been ages. I lost track of basically the device, the USB device that senses the controller. You plug it into your computer because it's a wireless controller. So then, essentially, although I had the controller, I had lost track of that, and I didn't have a controller, and I went out and I bought a new controller, boys. Okay, but this one's wired. Now, funnily enough, when I was a kid, I had a PlayStation. If you ask me what's better, PlayStation or Xbox, I would be like, mate. I mean, last time I checked, when I was a little kid, every game was good. Alright? Every game was good. Like, every single game. I didn't know there was bad games. Okay? I was like 8 years old. My dad's like, you know, Quake 2. I'm like, Quake 2? Oh, this is good. Right? Little kid's game, right? He's like, hey, I bought a game with a tiny little purple dragon, right? And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Dad. Pfft, lame. Plot twist, Spyro the Dragon, freaking awesome game. Right? Might be a little lame kid stuff, but freaking awesome. Crash Bandicoot, don't worry about it. Crash Bandicoot was like Dark Souls before Dark Souls was Dark Souls. Right? That game was hardcore. Every game was good. Final Fantasy VIII. My dad would literally just go into the shop and just be like, you know, Final Fantasy VIII came out and there's like a promotion on for it, and he'd just be like, okay, grab that. And I was like, sweet, Dad, thanks. Awesome game. Best game I ever played in my life, actually. So, I don't know. Never owned the Xbox, guys, but I'm a little bit biased because every PlayStation 1 game was good. All of them. And we're a far cry from that right now, aren't we? Imagine going into the store and just YOLO buying a game now. It's almost guaranteed to be bad. But it wasn't back in the day. So the point is, I always used a PlayStation. Now, why do I say that? Because subconsciously, the controller that I bought, it is not an Xbox controller. It is not a PlayStation controller. Alright? But the layout is PlayStation, not Xbox style. And this is something that I'm not a controller guy, as I mentioned. Bachmanus, do not, God dang it, Bachmanus. Are you, Bachmanus, don't take that occupation from me, mate. We're not even close to finishing call. Why are you not progressing? What happened? Why do? It's these ones over there. You're all good. It's the ones over in Japan. That's annoying. I don't want him to get that occupation, but I can't really stop it. So, this story was for those of you who have played Dark Souls. Well, I found out because I was like, sweet, I have a controller, and I plugged it in and I opened up Dark Souls for the first time in ever, and I found out that there is something that we will call Xbox controller privilege. Okay, in Dark Souls. Now, something that, you know, a privilege that I took for granted. And that's basically that an Xbox controller, if you imagine the basic layout of a controller, you've sort of got your, we'll call it a pad area on each side. And that's your, you know, buttons, X, B, whatever, circle, square, right? My PlayStation lads. And then, Alexandria, yeah. Those chilies over there, spices. And then you have the area, we'll call it the sub-pad area, okay? The sub-pad area is off to the side of your left, right, or your circle, square, or whatever. And it is your joystick. So, sort of by default, your thumb is on the pad area. if that makes sense. Now, credit where credit is due, okay? As it happens, in most games, I suspect that you have your thumb on the left stick, right? Because it's usually like the movement. So as it happens, the Xbox controller has its stick in sort of the primary thumb pad position as opposed to the sub position, i.e. off the side. Are you following? You guys might have to open Google Images or something to look at the controller I'm talking about. But basically, why does that matter? You might be like, Monk, come on. You have to keep your thumb slightly, off to the side when you play on a PlayStation style controller. It's not a big deal. And that's where I'd say no. It's not a big deal. Unless you've been playing Dark Souls with the opposite kind of controller and have been taking it for granted and you didn't even realize. Why? Because when your thumb is to the left in the main pad position, then you can move and you can reach over with your right thumb and you can hit the little buttons to change your items with your right hand. Because your left thumb is on the left side and it leaves the right side with the arrow keys open. Are you following me? Now, if your left thumb is on the right side of the thumb keys, i.e. PlayStation controller, mate, you're gutted. You gotta tell him he's gutted. Because you cannot move and change your items in a clutch desperate position, boys. It can't be done. Right? You have to stop moving, i.e. let go of the controls and then change your items. You got it. So as the moral of the story is, go Xbox, basically. Go Xbox. And now I do have a reputation from streaming that game for being at least the best, by far. And I'm a little bit nervous. Actually, because one day I might play Dark Souls 3 or something and might be bad. And then I'll be like, guys, it's the controller, what can I do? Right? And it'll be true. It'll be true, and I'll just feel bad, man, and I'll never spend money on a proper controller, Xbox controller, because I'm poor. Okay? So there we go. Conversation over. You learned something. If you're a Dark Souls player, use an Xbox controller. Alright? And if you've been using a PlayStation controller, well, you learned something, like I said. They're worse. And I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm just saying, for the game, it's worse. It's not something I realized until I've owned both. And I fear for the tiny little plebeians out there who have only ever used a PlayStation controller in a Dark Souls game and they've never experienced the Xbox move and change your items at the same time action. Okay, that's on a whole nother level. But back to EU4, we're basically doing what we do, which is wait for our provinces to core up. Really exciting stuff. Oh, but how crazy is that? If you guys actually play Dark Souls, then that was pretty informative. But otherwise, you're like Resident Sleeper. See what I'm saying? Ah, there we go. I was about to say I'm surprised we don't have another merchant from Doab, because we have these occupations here, but we actually do. Cool. Cool. So that merchant could go quite literally anywhere, I would say, and it's pretty inconsequential. It'll be really smart to take out the Philippines. That'll be one of the, especially if he has no allies, one of the earliest Ming wars we should fight. this. I'm so sick of rebels around this region. I'm going to manually focus this out a little bit. If we can convert up the Horn of Africa, then theoretically rebels should never spawn there again, unless maybe if there's some, what's it called? I can't even think right now. When you 100% overextend and you get the plus 15 unrest. Alright, there's a big chunk of it right there, so it's effectively 10. We can go up to 10, or which means 90. 90.3, that looks pretty good, but can we afford it? No. It would have to be 90.2. How long is this going to take? Let's just check. I think it's smarter to go now. Alright. That's going to do us just fine. But we will get more power in Bengal, which I like. How did that happen? Miscalculatorino. Feels bad, man. How did it happen? I don't know. I do not know, but it's all good. Get these guys somewhere. We've got light ships. They're back to work in Bengal. Alrighty. So one other thing, I'm just going to shoot shots at day 9, guys. Let's continue story time. Now, I've talked down on day 9 before, and I'm not going to elaborate why. If you don't know who he is, he's just another personality out there, a bigger one than me. He's been around a long time, and he's a much bigger one than me, and I used to really be a fan of the guy. I'm not really like a fan of anybody. This is Minor Inconvenience. That's what I was trying to say. Unless we get Minor Inconvenience, that's in Georgia. Out here, then if we convert it up, there shouldn't be any other rebels spawning. What the? I didn't even realize Ming owned that. The fuck are you doing out there? I didn't even realize he owned that. Like, I could see it, but I was just like, it's some Indian dude or something. It didn't even occur to me that it's Ming. It's pretty unusual for him to expand like that. Shots fired at day 9, guys. I can't help myself. This is something that I legit shouldn't do. So I'm going to get it out of my system. And the reason I legit shouldn't do this is because, do you remember how I talked about Twitch and their policies? Literally everybody who streams is like, you're supposed to think of them as like your co-employee, according to Twitch. So in other words, you're just supposed to refrain from talking bad about them. And also, they literally check other social media. Well, they don't check it, they're not monitoring, but the point is that they include other social media. So if I talk bad about Day Night, for example, it's not whether it's like legitimate or not, it's just whatever. But yeah, even if I talk about them here, they could just be like, you shouldn't do that, we're going to ban you. So I'm going to be pretty tame or whatever, but I'm just saying, I just can't help myself. It's something that I've been wanting to say for a while, and he's not the only person guilty of them, and I do like the guy, as a general rule, but I just have drifted away from watching him. The thing is, though, guys, there is something that I really can't stand, and he's so guilty of it, and the way that I would describe it is forced positivity, and he drives me nuts because people spend their money. I know they do. Like, when you talk up a game, you're like, oh, this is the best game ever. People, like, buy the game and stuff. And, like, not everybody's a big, fat, pig-headed American streamer who's just, like, also got a successful job with, like, a game company, apparently, and been streaming for ages and, makes Hearthstone videos and gets, like, 300,000 views. Not everybody's like that. And it's like, dude, I know you get to write off, with your own little business you've got going when you got another job as well. You get to write off when you buy a game. But it's like people work hard for their money. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to preach or anything, but I'm talking about myself. It's like back to me buying a cheap It's a Logitech, okay, controller. All right. I'm a chef. I literally sweat and bleed, literally, and stand on my feet. I'm just saying. I'm not a fan of forced positivity. And day 9, it reminded me about a rant that I've been wanting to say for ages, because it's the perfect example is Dark Souls. I saw briefly he came back to Dark Souls for some reason, and I remember because I used to be a big fan of him. I used to watch his stuff, him play Dark Souls the first time, and he never finished it. In fact, he didn't get very far at all. And then he goes ahead and he plays Dark Souls, boys. Okay? And do you know what he says? He says, "This is one of my favorite games." I'm not exaggerating. He says, "This is one of my favorite games." And I thought to myself, cool. It's also one of my favorite games. And I could explain exactly to why that is. Let's take a moment and reflect. Should I be attacking Ming right now? Yes, I should. Haha, no. Flanders. Gotcha. Let's take him out in the meantime. That gives me something to do. Now, where's this little cheeky ally? I don't know where he is, but we'll find him. Alright. Yeah, and I thought, wow, in the downtime where, like, he must have been playing it offline or whatever, in between back then and now. And from watching him, I found out, not really. He doesn't know very much more than he did last time at all. God, this is so annoying that we're just slightly overextended, but it's just going to have to be that way. Let's go ahead and transport some of these troops over, because these guys have a significant navy that we have to watch out for. No, so he's pretty noob at Dark Souls. And I was like, that's really interesting, because he basically rage quit because it's a hard game and didn't play it, and he didn't finish it, and now he's saying it's one of his favorite games. And I watched, and like I said, I realized, no, he's pretty noob, and I'm not using that as an insult. I just mean he's inexperienced. So therefore, like I said, it's an indicator that he hasn't been playing the game. And he goes on about, the design and how spectacular it is and how rewarding the game is. And after about 2 episodes, so about 45 minutes each kind of thing, somebody just asks in his stream, "Are you going to finish the game this time?" Which is a pretty reasonable question, I think, especially because just from my own experience of watching Day9, he very often does start things and doesn't end them. So it's like very reasonable to ask. And Day9's basically says, and it's just a feeling, I could be 100% wrong, guys, but with his kind of attitude, he says, yeah, if I feel like it. Now, this was about literally 2:45 minutes, so about an hour and a half of playing the game, I suppose. And I just thought to myself, well, that kind of sounds like no, I'm not going to finish it. No, he said, yeah, if I feel like it, if I'm still having fun. He said it's one of his favorite games, though. That really diminishes, like, his words, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, I'm a big fan of saying what I mean and meaning what I'm saying. Like, I don't think, if you keep just running your mouth and saying certain things that you don't mean, I feel like it devalues what you're saying, and it's not worth listening to people like that. But it's very apparent that it's forced positivity. And there's a benefit to him, like even monetarily, being like, "Guys, this is the best game ever. It's my favorite game." And then everybody was like, oh, like PogChamp. Like, oh, I'm so hyped. I missed this one. Oh, this one went over my head. And then, a couple days later, it's like, what? No, I'm not playing that game anymore. But he's so guilty of that. I swear he's so guilty of that. And it personally drives me nuts. Like, some of you guys know, and it's a very small amount of people, guys, and I'm gonna struggle. I don't wish to sound arrogant, but Dark Souls is also one of my favorite games, and I could talk about exactly my experiences playing the game. And I've probably played the game a grand total of like 40 hours or 50 hours or something like that. Or, I don't know, maybe more. Maybe I'm underestimating, like 100 hours maybe. But with that being said, I've beaten the game multiple times. I've done all sorts of runs. I literally have done a speed run, and I got just under an hour. And this was my first ever speed run. I beat the game in just under an hour, and that was blind. I didn't look at any of the sort of trick shortcuts or anything like that. And after looking at the trick shortcuts, I realized, oh, if I cut out the amount of time, I mean that those, if I had known about those, I'm pretty proud of myself, let's put it that way. I seriously think with how fast I did it was kind of in the runnings of being very close to like a sort of a world record quite kind of thing, which is about half that time. But also, I didn't grind. I didn't keep restarting, which is what most people do. You go for a weapon, and if you don't get it, you just restart. That's how the speedrun kind of works. I didn't do that either. But my point is, I have a lot of experiences like that. I've done sort of cosplay runs where you play as an individual character. I've done like lore runs, like exploring, like blah blah blah. So when I say like it's one of my favorite games, it's like, yeah, I haven't put the same amount of time into it as like EU4 or something like that, but it's represented in other ways. That's all I'm trying to say. And like, I know a lot about the game, and I have a lot of experience, and I have quite some clout. Like those few who watched, I bet ONS on my first try ever. The first time I ever went in there, I just bet them. And everybody was saying like, "Low," in my blind run, which I streamed, everybody was like, "You're gonna get wrecked." And I just bet them. And everybody was like, "Oh damn, snap, Budget Monk's the man." But yeah, when I say like Dark Souls is like one of my favorite games, like I could talk about it for hours. I could talk about why it is. I know all the characters. I know, and it's just crazy to me that he says like it's his favorite game, and then he hasn't finished it. He hasn't played it. He says it's one of his favorite games, and it's like he doesn't intend to. So rant over, boys. It's upsetting. All right, it's upsetting. It's just upsetting. Okay, guys? I'm very upset. Forced positivity. Get out of my life. Alright? I humbly request that you shut your mouth while you're speaking to me. And with that being done, I will try, guys, not to be forcedly positive myself. You know, I try to put on a brave face when I'm not happy or whatever, because I don't want to bring that to whatever I'm doing. But I'm not going to resort to being like, this is my favorite game. And it's like, I've spent like, whatever. I'm being mean now. You guys get the point. With that rant concluding, that's the end of this episode, guys. Next episode, we have a truce, if I can find it, with Japan for 5 years, and in between we have quite literally hardly anything to do at all. So we're going to be fighting the Ming Wars next episode, I think, depending on how long. Yeah, we will, because we'll call this up, we'll take whatever we can here, as much as we can, and then we're going against Ming. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. Feel free to give me your feedback if you don't like me talking about things like this, because so far people were just like, lol, like positive responses, so it kind of prompts me to be myself, I suppose is what you'd say, a little bit more generously willing to be myself, but, or at least in that way. I can be myself in other ways. Anyway, guys, appreciate you. That's going to be it for this episode. We have so many remorse. I can't believe that little bit of overextension. That's really nasty, but we're about to be that's about to be a thing of the past as well. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.